Welcome to Talking Business. I'm your host, Darcey Edwards with Queen Bee Leadership Training. Talking Business is just that. We are talking business with business leaders, leaders in the community, and those who change their communities with entrepreneurship. This podcast is presented by Xpose Hope as a thank you to the business community. Catch us on all the platforms. Find us, follow us, and review us. Hi, welcome to Talking Business. I'm your host, Darcey Edwards, and today we have with us the other half of the dynamic duo, Robert Gross with Minuteman Mortgage. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So this vodcast is for people in business and success and how to do things differently. And why I invited Robert on, he's a mortgage broker. He's been in the business for, what did you say?
27 years as a loan officer.
27. Most marriages don't last that long.
I got married 2 years after. So
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so he's also a gold winner for Forest Grove's Best, Hillsboro's Best. And we work together often on mortgages for people in the real estate world. Mm-hmm. And the question I have that I think that a lot of people don't really realize with a mortgage broker, where do you see that you've had success? How does that happen? Because there's a lot of people getting into that, into being a mortgage broker, a realtor, or into real estate because it's such a great business model. And so what have you attributed some of your success to?
Well, the funny thing about that is I've had people ask that before. They see that I'm a loan officer, or maybe I came home with a new car or something like that. Like, wow, what do you do? You're a loan officer. They think it's like a quick, easy thing to get into and make easy money real quick and all that kind of stuff. They don't really realize that, no, there's a lot to it to be a loan officer. I mean, you can know all the theory and everything, but the best way to be successful, number one, is you have to have realtor relationships. Refinances come and go, but having a good realtor partnerships to work with, because they're the ones that are the hustle and bustle, they know the ins and outs of neighborhood and sales and things like that. So I think what's helped me be successful is paying attention and having good realtor relationships, because you need to find out in this business, even during bad times like 2008 and things like that, there were still people that still bought and sold. And so I think for my success was staying on top of that, staying informed with my realtor partners, and then keeping people educated on what's going on in the market.
That's what you're really good at. I would say that that's probably your number one skill, is being able to educate people and making them really feel, I'm not trying to pitch you, but is that you do the hard work on the front end instead of waiting till the week of closing to do
right.
that. And so, but I wanted you to also bring up the fact that you haven't spent all those 27 years here.
No.
You came to Oregon
late 2013.
Yeah, years ago.
Yes.
And so coming into a new market and deciding I'm going to do this, and it wasn't a great time. It was
still post-crash.
It was fairly sketch. And so what did you do to market yourself?
Yeah, it's a good point you brought that up, because I've been in Arizona so many years before, and we moved here in late 2013, and I thought, I still have my great Arizona business coming over, but it turns out, you're up there, we're down here, so it's pretty much starting over from scratch.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, the number one helper, I wouldn't call it getting referrals necessarily from it, but when I joined the Washington County Chamber of Commerce, known as the Hillsboro Chamber back then, my boss told me when I worked at Academy Mortgage, he said, you need to join a chamber, you need to get in a BNI group, you need to get networking, because the best thing about moving to Oregon is you have to get to people to know, you got to get to know, have them know, like, and trust you, make friends, build relationships. I will admit it was a little slow going. Mm-hmm. It was about 2 or 3 years into me living here before it really started taking off, because we had to get those realtor relationships built, and then your networking built and things like that. But from that, it has exploded to where I'm at now because of those building. It took a while, it did. But
it does. And that's the part I think that business owners forget, is that it's not a one and done. You can't come to a meeting one time and expect to get business out of it. I actually used to sell memberships for the chamber 100 years ago. And it then was about 5 years it would take you before you could build that trust. It's probably sped up a little bit.
I was about 3.
I was going to say about 3 now.
Yep.
But to really concrete relationships and to really cement those in that you're not going to go somewhere, right? And you learn the culture in Oregon, where you have a different culture than they do in Arizona.
Extremely different. Yeah, that was. Everybody knows everybody here. But
Right.
yeah,
It's
so,
a big, small pond.
yes.
Right? And they all do, and if they don't, they act like we do, know each other. So, but also I wanted to bring up, okay, so here's 2008. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody on here who doesn't remember that, but there's a lot of kids now that are buying now who went through that.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm. So, in the difference too, you have people talking about even present day, like, oh, wait for this bubble to burst, this housing bubble to burst. It is not the same. What happened in 2008 was a credit bubble. You had interest-only loans, you had no income, no asset loans, stated income loans, you had all these things that you could pretty much fog a mirror and get a home loan. Well, that drove all these things up back then, and we knew people should have realized it was going to fail. Present day, there's a very low inventory of homes, and people have to get fully credit qualified. You've got to get credit ran, underwriting done, all your wages and your assets, everything analyzed and figured out. So today, present day, it's not like 2008.
Right.
But on your note, I remember back then, there were kids that are now old enough to buy. They're young millennials now, but they were little kids at the time. They were scared to death when they got older. They didn't want to buy a house because they saw their parents' house either had to go short sale or foreclosure back in 2008.
Right.
And it scared them off. But now this population is coming back through, and it's nice to see that they're back. That's 43% of our buying population now are millennials. But it's not 2008. No one wants a 2008 again. So in my opinion, there's not going to be a bubble bursting. They can't because the inventory of homes are low.
Right.
Well, that's my opinion anyway.
So we burst your bubble, so to speak. That's a great title. We're going to burst your bubble.
Yeah.
And I think also part of that I think is amazing is it's actually throughout the country. It's not just our backyard that the real estate market's different. It's different everywhere. And I think what's happening now, I know by the time this airs, the rates have probably gone up and down another 14 times. They're every day.
Yeah, it's like following a moving target.
Right?
Every
and we're
day.
not, I saw something the other day that I thought was really interesting. Get married to the house, date the rate.
Pretty much. That's
Date the rate.
Well put.
Don't be, into that. But I think part of it that I love is that you take so much time with people, and maybe expand on that. Like, you're successful. You've kind of got the check box of I've made it, ish. Do you what are some of the same things you do now that you did when you started? Because I think people think, oh, I'll never have to do that again. I've made it to this point, so I never have to do this.
Yeah, well, the big thing I do with mortgage customers as well, though, is that especially first-time home buyers, is the education piece. There's a lot to it. In fact, I've had people that are in their 50s. I've had young kids either all trying to buy a house, and they know nothing about it. And then they try to have their parents or uncles or aunts try to tell them what to do and help them out, and it gets them confused. But part of the things, even when I first started in the business until now, is why I take so much time. I want people to know, hey, this is what you're getting into. This is how the flow works. That way sometimes, it used to be my early days, though, I'd tell them too much, and they'd have the deer in the headlights face, like, okay, I'm vomiting way too much information at them. So in periods of time later on, I've learned to kind of summarize that down and let them know, here's the path, here's how it works, and this is what it's going to take you to get into this house. I mean, I think setting the expectation and showing them the kind of like a flow chart of how it all works and things like that. I mean, I don't know if I directly answered your question very well, but I think that's what I was thinking of.
Well, I'm going to say this. You did.
Oh, okay.
You do take a lot of time, but you also do the work on the front end to making sure it's a clean file. So when they are ready, they can just pop into that. And that's the other part of it, is that I think people get fearful because you're going to know all their stuff, right? You're going to know where they are. And there's no judgment in it. And a lot of times people forget. They equate home lending with buying a car. And so they think it's the same thing. And it's like, no. This is why you actually could buy more house than you think you can. 9 times out of 10, they qualify for more than they think, I would say.
Well, the funny thing, too, is on that note between buying the car and buying the house thing, right? comes the topic of credit scores. This is the one that makes me laugh every time, is that because customers and people don't know. They have a Credit Karma score on their phone. Right? So they go, my Credit Karma says my credit score is a 792. Then they come meet with me and we pull the credit and they have like a 694. And they're like, why? Well, because Credit Karma, that one kind of gives you a score, but that works best for anything outside of mortgage. Car loans, boat loans, RVs, credit card, that kind of thing, whatever, that's great. But mortgages use a FICO score, and its algorithm is set up specifically. It's a mortgage-related credit report. And so that's why the credit scores are so much different, because there's so much more to it. And so sometimes it gets people discouraged. That's why I explain to them. That's why I like to sit down with them first, and we go over all kinds of things. I kind of get them on a plan, and we get the credit pulled, and we say, hey, here's where you guys are. And if your score's a little bit down, there's ways I can help you bring it up. I'm not a credit repair specialist, but we have some tools that can kind of help people.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I spend the time with them. And so I always tell people, well, can we pay you for your time? Can we pay you for helping? No, I'm officially unemployed until the next loan closes. That's how it works.
So, and I think with that, because of that, you're always hungry.
Yes.
Right?
When you're on 100% commission, you're always hungry.
Well, and the point of that is it also makes you on your game, right?
Yes.
Because if we had a discussion this morning at our Rise and Shine, like what's our why? And myself and another member said, we're horrible employees. Like, we're not great employees, but we're really good at these other things. And so, and we work in that realm. And so I think that's the same thing, is that because you have that mentality of like, this isn't anything until it's something, I work it. And so you get up every day and go to work. I really do know that about you, and so I'm kind of saying it for you.
Yes, I do.
But you do. You get up and go to work every day. And so do you have like kind of your rules that you won't break to be successful?
When you're in this line of loan officer work, like I've been doing forever, you just always go all the time. It's like, so you're not on 8 to 5 o'clock, you're not on whatever, you're just always going. So I was trying to think of a rule to break. I mean, you know, I haven't really given that much thought because I'm always working.
Okay, so your assignment now.
Yes, my assignment is
No,
so
and I think that's kind of the thing, is that you show up to work every day. And that's part of being successful. I know I had this, people ask me this. They'll go, oh, don't you ever take any time off? And I'm like, I take time off during the day all the time. Like, I'll take a few hours here, I'll take a few hours there. I might actually take a vacation, but I have things in place for that. And I know you go out and you do things and you have a normal life. However, with that said, if I text you, you answer me.
Yes. So. She's like E.F. Hutton, you know, remember that commercial when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. When Darcey calls, I listen. But it's just what we do. But yeah, that's one of the perks of being a loan officer is that, yes, especially if you're 100% commission loan officer, you can set your own schedule. There's flexible time, but there's a lot of times though you're nice in weekends, especially during busy peak times. Is you're getting pre-approval letters out, you're working with your realtors, you're getting your customers at home, you're taking naps at night.
Yes.
You know, you're doing all kinds of things like that because you're out there. The overall goal is you want to get those people in their home so they will tell their friends and tell their friends and give you repeat referral business. Right. That's how it works.
That's how it works. I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Darcey.
I think you've had, get up, go to work.
Yes.
You've had educate.
Experience, 27 years.
Experience, and it does matter on that. Although I've seen people who are, they take their work ethic into whatever career they do. And so having a work ethic is really, it's a big deal. And so I think that's part of like what's happening now in our new economy that's coming is like people are asking, is there a bubble? What's going to happen? And they kind of freak out. And I'm like, no, it's actually kind of normalizing.
It actually is. In fact, the people are talking about, how the interest rates are in the 6s and things like now. If you go back to 2005, 2009 time frame in there, the rates were in the 6s then too, and people still bought and sold and everything. I mean, granted, some people say, well, the houses were cheaper then. I said, but all these things are kind of relative. Just like gas, folks talk about gas. It's like, well, you're paying market price for a commodity. I know it sucks, but what can we do about it? I mean, We're at the mercy of that. So, but also to finish with what you were saying earlier, Darcey, about educating on people with loans and stuff too. I scrub, when I work with my people, I get their things all ready to go and scrub it down and get it nice and ready. So by the time I give her a pre-approval letter or any realtor, they know this borrower has been vetted. They are good to go. So your time isn't wasted. That's why we get easy closings.
Yeah.
So If I may say that. I don't know.
You can, because
Okay.
you know what? It's our podcast.
It's our podcast.
And
There you go.
I didn't necessarily mean it to be real estate, whatever related, but it is, because that is a business. That is
It's one of the drivers. Housing in the U.S.
Yes.
is one of the number one drivers of how the rest of the economy rolls. So
right. And so when people, they're a little gun shy, is all I'd have to say about new things coming up. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, it's all gonna be good. And so anyway, thank you so
Yeah,
much
thank
for
you,
coming.
Darcey.
I appreciate your
yeah,
time.
thank you.
Robert Groves, Minuteman Mortgage.
Hi, I'm Betty Campbell. I'm the founder and executive director of Xpose Hope. Today I want to tell you that we are honored to have been chosen by the community of Hillsboro as the best nonprofit in Hillsboro this year. Now, we were up against some very amazing nonprofits, but we were chosen because of all that we give back into the community. We run the All About Hillsboro site, and we help take care of businesses through All About Business, a networking community that is provided free of charge by Xpose Hope. Why do we do that? Because we believe in giving back to community, just like we ask you to do to us. We hope that you'll consider turning the tables and giving back to us at xposehope.com so that we can help change lives and help change your bottom line by giving you not only a write-off, but so much more. Connect with us today.
Thank you for listening to Talking Business, brought to you by Xpose Hope. We can be found on all of your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, iTunes, all of them. Also, be sure to like us, share us, and leave a comment. Who do you want to hear from? We want to know.